Okay, here we go into 2.7. This is the last section of notes in Unit 2. You guys will be taking a test before Thanksgiving break, so just as an FYI on that. We are in a proof section, so I want you to make sure that you have this supplemental sheet out so that you can use this guy as a reference guide. Okay. So here's some additional theorems. If you notice, these are going to be on the bottom. Under definitions and theorems, these are going to be all down here. So a quick overview of these. Right angles congruence theorem is just saying that all right angles are congruent. That is about halfway down in this box, right here. Congruent supplements theorem is just saying, okay, if I have angle 2 and I know angle 1 is supplemental to angle 2, so it makes 180 degrees, and I know 3 is also supplementary to angle 2, that means number 1 and 3 have to be congruent. That's on here also. Same thing with congruence complements theorem. So 4 and 6 would be equal because they are both supplementary or complementary to angle 5. We actually did a proof on this in the previous section, if you remember. Linear pair postulate is stating that if two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. So that's kind of like the definition of linear pair on this sheet. And then the last one is vertical angles congruence theorem. It's just stating that all vertical angles are congruent. So 1 and 3 would be congruent, 2 and 4 would be congruent. Okay, so using that information, use the diagram to decide whether the statement is true or false. So if angle 1 is 47 degrees, then angle 2 would be 43 degrees. Well, angle 1 and angle 2 make a linear pair. A linear pair is 180 degrees. 47 plus 43 equals 90, so this would be false. Go ahead and pause me and do 2, 3, and 4 on your own, and then unpause me when you're done. Okay. Measure of angle 1 equals 47. Measure of angle 3 equals 47. That one is true because they are vertical angles. So vertical angles are congruent. 1 plus 3 equals 2 plus 4. Well, if you look at these guys, 1 and 3 are acute angles. So if I add 2 acute angles, and 2 and 4 are obtuse angles, and if I add 2 obtuse angles, are my 2 acute angles added together going to equal my 2 obtuse angles equal together? And that's a no, so that'd be false. But if we said 1 plus 4 is equal to 2 plus 3, well, 1 and 4 make a linear pair, so that's 180. 2 and 3 make a linear pair, so that's 180. So this one would be true. Okay. Similar kind of to what they were doing on the front. Measure of angle 1 is 115. Find 2, 3, and 4. So we know 3 is vertical, so that would be 115 degrees. We know 1 and 2 make 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 115. My brain is not working today. So that would be 65. And 2 and 4 are vertical, so that would be 65 degrees also. Go ahead and pause me. Do 6, 7, and 8 on your own. Measure of angle 2 is 64, so that means the vertical one is also 64, so that's angle 4. 1 and 3 are going to be equal, but it's going to be the 180 minus 64, which is 116. 3 is 112, so vertical to that is 1, so that would be 112 also. And then measure of angle 2 and 4 would be supplementary to 112 and equal to each other. So 180 minus 112 is 68 and 68. 4 is 67, so that means 2 is 67 because they are vertical. 1 and 3 would be supplementary to those, so 180 minus 67. I should have known that. It's only one more than that, right? So 113 and 113. Okay, find the value of x. So this plus this equals 180 because they are supplementary. So 3x plus 48 equals 180. So I'm going to subtract 48 from both sides. So 180 minus 48 will give me 132. I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. And I get x equals 44. Okay. Next one, 2x plus x equals 180. That gives me 3x's equal 180. Divide by 3, divide by 3, x equals 60. All right, I'm actually going to pause, and I want you to pause, and I want you to solve for your x's. Then after that, I'm just going to show the answers. Okay, so hopefully you paused. So 11, 12, 13, and 14 are here. On 11, you add those two things together, set them equal to 180. You combine like terms to get 13x's, and I added 2 at the same time to get 182, and then I divide by 13 to get 14 on both, or x equals 14. Next one, this equals this, so I get x equals 10 when I divide by 8 on both sides. 13, this equals this, so I get 4x equals 3x plus 13, and just subtract 3x and you're left with 1x. And then the last one, vertical angles are equal, so set them equal. And do subtract 5x, subtract 7, so you get 4x equals 60, so you're going to divide by 4 and you get x equals 15. Okay, next page, and last page of your note packet. All right, here we go. Find the value of the variables and measure of each angle. So we're going to find x, we're going to find y, and then we're going to plug them back in to solve for my angles. I want you to pause me, and I want you to try these two on your own, okay? Unpause me when you're done. First one, we are going to set this equal to this, so 13x plus 9 equals 15x minus 1. I'm going to subtract 13x, so I get 2 x's. I'm going to add 1 equals 10, so I get x equals 5. I'm going to plug 5 in. I'm going to do 15 times 5, which is 75 minus 1. That gives me 74. Now, you can do one of two things to solve for y. You can set this equal to this, or now that I know that this is equal to 74, I can find the supplementary angle by doing 180 minus 74, which is 106. So now I found that angle. I know this is 106. This is 74. And so instead of setting those equal to one another, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do 4y plus 2 equals 106. The reason I'm doing it that way instead of setting these equal to each other, because I see I have to distribute on this guy, which I distribute, then set them equal. I just think it's going to be more steps. So I'm trying to find the easiest and fastest way. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, so I get 4y equals 104. I divide by 4, I get y equals 26. So this is y, there's x, and my angle measures. Number 16 is slightly different, because if you notice, my angles across from each other have opposite variables or different variables. So I can't set this equal to this because I can't set x equal to y. But I can set those two added together equal to 180 because they are supplementary. So I get 4x's and 13x's, which gives me 17x's plus 10 equals 180. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides, so I get 17x equals 170. Divide by 17, and I get x equals 10. So if I plug that in, 13 times 10 is 130. So that's 130. That means that this is 130. That means that this is 50, because 130 plus 50 equals 180. That means this is 50. So now to find y, I'm going to use either this equals that or this equals that. I could add them together and set it equal to 180. But I'm going to just do 2y minus 30 equals 50. I'm going to add 30 to both sides, so I get 2y equals 80. So I get y equals 40. Okay. Next one. Okay. So proof. I would like for you to actually pause me and try this proof completely on your own. Make sure that you are using this guy, okay? So, given angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, so I'm going to mark that. They also gave me this picture, okay? I need to prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 4. So I'm going to think about this through in my head. Well, if I know 2 is equal to 3, I also know 2 is equal to 1 because of vertical, and I know 3 is equal to 4 because of vertical. That would then in turn make 1 equal to 4 because those are equal, right? Okay, so let's start here. 2 is congruent to 3. They gave me that, so that would be my given. 3 is equal to 4. So looking at my reasons sheet, what makes 3 congruent to 4? Well, those are vertical angles, so I'm going to see if there's anything on here that's vertical angles, and there is towards the bottom. Second from the bottom, it says if A and B are opposites of each other and formed by two intersecting lines, then A is congruent to B. So that's what that one would be. It'd be vertical angles, congruence, theorem. Shorthand for theorem is THM. 2 is congruent to 4. So what they did here is they took these two statements they took off the 3, and they sandwiched together. So that is transitive, I had a brain fart there, transitive, PO, and this one's C because it's congruent. Okay? 1 is congruent to 2, so go back to my picture. 1 is congruent to 2. 1 and 2 are vertical angles again, so that would be vertical angles congruence theorem, all shorthanded there. 1 is congruent to 4 then, so what they did here is they had 2 to 4 and 1 to 2, so they took out the 2 and they sandwiched together 1 and 4, so that's transitive. POC again, and then that's what they wanted us to prove. Okay, pause me, try 18 on your own, unpause me when you are done, see how well you did on that. Okay, 1 and 2 are complementary, that means that they make 90, so I'm going to put that in on the picture. 1 is congruent to 3, and 2 is congruent to 4. I'm going to put 1 arc here and 1 arc here to show that those 2 are equal, and 2 to show those are equal. I do not know, and it doesn't look, even though we are not supposed to go off the way it looks, but we don't know that 1 is congruent to 2, and or so on. So I can't put 1 arc in all of them. 1 and 2 are complementary. That came from this statement right here. That is the given. That means that angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees. That is just definition of complementary angles. So if you look at your definition sheet, reason sheet, that's where you will see that. 1 is congruent to 3 and 2 is congruent to 4. That came up here from the given. Guys, sometimes they'll put the givens further down. Don't forget that we haven't used all of our givens, because what I see a lot of times is people will be like, okay, on this stuff, I don't know where they're getting that from, because we forgot that it was a given because it wasn't right there at the beginning. They changed this to from congruent to equal, and we're talking about angles. So that is that definition of congruent angles. So definition of congruent angles. Measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90 degrees. Okay, so they took step 2, where it was measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90. And since I know that 1 equals 3, they took out 1 and put in 3. So that would be substitution, PO, or equal, so E. And they did something similar here. Since I know that 2 is congruent to 4, and we know this guy, they took out 2 and they placed in 4. So that again would be substitution, POE. Since I know that angle 3 plus angle 4 equals 90 degrees, that means that they are complementary. So that would be the definition of complementary angles theorem. And we got to the end. Good job, guys. You'll have a couple Schoology assignments that you need to complete and possible worksheets that you also need to complete. I hope all is well, and I will talk to you guys later.